I have the state level results of both elections with 2012 on the left and 2016 on the right, um, and the county level results. Um, so for these maps, I used one of the story templates um, on ArcGIS Online. I thought this would be a good format to compare the two election results, both at the state and county levels. So users can use this slider bar to visually compare the results of both elections. Same with the map below. So in terms of cartographic design, I used a standard red for Republican and blue for Democrat, because I think any other color scheme would have been confusing for users. And I decided to only have the legend included in the map and not the full description, even though that's an option on the template, because I felt like the description would distract from the map itself. And I instead chose to have a description for both maps up here at the top. Um, and so for the next two maps, I chose to show the vote margins for Democrats and Republicans in both the 2016 or 2012 and 2016 elections. So the way I did that was I used a field calculator to make a new field for vote margins in 2016 and vote margins in 2012. For 2012, I did percent votes for Obama minus percent votes for Romney, and in 2016, I did percent votes for Clinton minus percent votes for Trump. So the result was negative values corresponded to Republican vote margins, since I did the Democrats minus the Republicans, and the positive values represented Democratic vote margins. And instead of using positive and negative values in the legend, which I think would have been confusing, I just used clear labels that said, the Democrat all positive and then Republican all positive, just with different colors. And I used the equal interval classification method because I think having equal size ranges above and below the midpoint makes the most sense for this kind of data. Also, the equal interval method emphasizes the amount of one attribute relative to others, and I was kind of trying to show that with this map. And having, for example, the same amount of attributes in each or in each range would have been less informative. So I used a diverging color scheme because the values for the margins go outward in both directions from a midpoint, which is 0. And I used a standard blue for Democrat, red for Republican, and I used lightness to indicate lower margins and darker colors to indicate higher margins. Then for the dot density maps, I also had to bring in outside data, so I found a CSV file online with the total votes for each candidate in both elections at the county level, and I used a join to add that table to the county shapefile or county level results shapefile that I already had. And I made the dots the smallest possible size, which is 0.5, and each dot is equal to 1,500 votes. And that's so the map isn't too cluttered, but the message still comes across, I think. I didn't include the county boundaries because I thought they would distract from the dots. It was good to just have a plain white background so that the dots stand out. And then finally, I created two maps to sort of illustrate what changed between the two elections, and specifically how the support for candidates within each party changed. So the first map shows the percentage point difference within the Democrats, so the difference between Obama in 2012 and Clinton in 2016, and then for Republicans, it's the difference between Romney in 2012 and Trump in 2016. And again, I used a field calculator to find the percent difference in Democratic votes, so percent Obama minus percent Clinton, and then another field with the percent difference in Republican votes, so percent Romney minus percent Trump. And I used the equal interval classification method again for this data because it emphasizes the relative amounts of each attribute. And I also used a diverging color scheme with two hues to indicate an increase or decrease in percentage points in 2016 relative to 2012. So the green means that the 2016 candidate had more support than the 2012 candidate, and the red means that they had less support. And again, I used lighter and darker hues to indicate higher and lower values.